Well, a little earlier I spoke to two Labour MPs with differing views on the party's voting rules. Alan Johnson supports the one-member, one-vote plan, while Diane Abbott is worried about reducing the union's involvement in party democracy. Thanks for both coming on the programme. Let me start with you, Alan Johnson. You've looked at Ed Miliband's reforms in great detail, and you've said that they don't go far enough. Explain that, please.
I haven't looked at them, and I haven't said they don't go far enough. I've done an article supporting what Ed's trying to do, which is to end what I call the ghosts in the machine of people who don't make a conscious decision to sign up to Labour, but become our so-called levy payers and take a role in the party. Now, Ed has said that has to end. That means the natural consequence of that is one member, one vote.
Diane Abbott, so an antiquated, disproportionate system that elected your party leader. What do you think?
Well, I think if you query the system, you're actually querying Ed's legitimacy. I don't think that's what party members want. I would point out to Alan that under a one person, one vote for the last leadership campaign, I would have come third. Maybe he'll think again about his opposition to that system. I think we should be proud of the trade union link. I think without the trade union link, the Labour Party is just a bunch of Oxbridge PP graduates looking for constituencies to represent. It's a trade union link which gives the Labour Party its meaning, and there are many more now, ordinary working people and black people and women organised in trade unions, and I think the link and a collective voice is very important.
Under one man, one vote, the system suggested by Alan Johnson here, would Ed Miliband still be party leader?
I believe he would, and I would have come third.
There's some people who think the opposite.
Well,
I believe would have won.
Well, let's not go over all that, because a lot of MPs voted for David because they thought he was going to win. Under a one-person, one-vote system, they might have voted differently. You cannot look back, and you certainly can't question Ed's legitimacy. I think we need to continue to have the trade union link and a collective voice for the unions at every level in the party.
What's unfair about not having one member, one vote? I mean, this is the 21st century. This is the obvious way to organise it. Why allow a disproportionate amount of power to one particular bloc in the party?
It's not about having a disproportionate amount of power, but it's allowing them to have a collective voice. I think there should be reform, but I feel very strongly about defending the link.
But aren't you caught between a rock and a hard place? The rock being that you do rely instinctively, historically, on the unions for finance, for political clout, for a ready-made block of votes. And the hard place is that the British public doesn't buy that anymore.
And I think this is Ed Miliband's point. I'm supporting my leader here, by the way. I'm not coming from a kind of Sainsbury's with a kind of rich millionaires, but I'm supporting what my leader is doing. And what Ed Miliband said in his speech some time ago is that we can't continue with this facade. We have to be, if we want politics to be open and honest, we have to be open and honest ourselves. And I 3 Hail Marys to that. I don't want any union to feel false that they have to give it to the Labour Party, but I think on the basis of shared values that they would support a party that reflects their aims. It shouldn't be on the basis, what you hear this argument, then what about principles, what about finance?
I think
that somehow all that money will disappear.
Very careful. If we give way to the people pushing to weaken the trade union link and weaken the collective voice, what is to say that trade unions will always want to give their political fund money to the Labour Party? In Scotland, they could look at the SNP. Contrary to people saying, oh, Ed is in the pocket of trade union leaders, Ed Balls will be pursuing a lot of policies in the near future which trade union leaders won't like. And we may find that they don't choose to give their money to the party.
See, that's precisely the point. The argument is, look, leave well alone, because we lock them in. By actually signing up to a party without knowing it, we lock them in.
I'm just saying that you're not thinking through the consequences of undermining the link with the trade unions, because that is what your proposal would do.
I'm absolutely thinking through the
a weaker link with the trade union, a stronger link with billionaire shop owners. Why do we want that?
Billionaire shop owners keeps coming into it. I don't understand. Well, look, David Sainsbury is one person, and actually I think was an extremely good and
we'll be very dependent on him without the union.
Does a lot of things for us. But your point is exactly the point. We keep this money coming in because we run this little trick that people don't know they're contributing to the Labour Party.
It's not a trick, Alan. It's the history of the movement. It's the history of the movement, and that matters.
Why are you worried about the money not coming in?
What matters to me is that we'll hear less from working people, less from women, less from black people if we weaken the link with the unions.
And that is where your proposal is going. Trade union leaders. We don't hear much from trade unionists themselves.
It's the issues that it was trade unionists.
They're stacking your GCs.
Trade unionists.
They're flooding to your GCs.
It's trade unionists that first push the argument on women's pay and minimum wages. Progressive policies come from the trade unions.
But even if the reforms are approved, if it comes about, you're still going to have the unions dominating the party conference, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's worthless because for years leadership has done what it wanted. Alan knows that.
Well,
are you comfortable with that?
The days when you had a 20-minute debate by the seaside on the Middle East have gone, thank God, and that set Labour policy. You now have a national policy forum where the unions are actually properly represented. They're about 27% there. I actually think that the NEC of the Labour Party, the union link there, is absolutely right. I think we need a few more councillors and lay members on the NEC of the party. And at conference, it is a bit irrelevant because we have a national policy forum, but there's no reason why it should be 50%.
Alan, if we'd listened to the unions on things like housing and transport, we'd have much better policies today. It's people ignoring the unions and listening to posh think tanks that put us where we are.
We'll leave it on that point of fundamental disagreement. Alan Johnson, Diane Abbott, thank you very much.